Hey, this is Idea Coaches for Coach Roan. Weighing in on the weight class is episode 14A, the preview to Dream, Genki Desuka 2011. Now, usually I like to keep my videos under 8 minutes, but for this event, since it's so different than the previous, UFCs and Strike Forces and pretty much every other event I've predicted so far, this is going to be a little more history-based, and there's a lot of extra things going on in this event that are not seen in other events. I want you guys to support this. There's going to be a free live streaming, which I'm going to leave the link down below in the description. So guys, let's get into it. Mixed rules bout. Katsunori Kikuno versus Gianatsu Nakashima.
After the result of the last mixed rules fight in Dynamite 2010 having Gianatsu embarrass Aoki, which was karma for that pitiful performance during that fight by the Baka survivor, the guys at Dream were doing it again with Nakashima Gianatsu going against Katsunori Kikuno. Don't expect a striker-grappler matchup. Kikuno is a Kyokushin karate expert with some of the most confusing adamant kicks you will ever see. They don't look like much, but the weeps of pain that his opponents give after being touched by one is enough to convince any onlooker that this guy is not scared of a stand-up war. Which is great because Gianatsu will give him just that. People know him for his cosplay mumbo-jumbo, but he is a K1 standout that is on the upswing of his career in that organization, or what's left of it. Although Kikuno has a strange stance and angles, I don't believe Nakashima will be entranced by this. The last 3 losses that Kikuno had were all to upper-level fighters such as Jay-Z Cavalcante, Eddie Alvarez, and Mitsuto Hirota. Unlike the Aoki bout of last year that was a coin flip deciding that the MMA rules would be first or the K1 rules would be first, the information I got states that the K1 style will start off the fight. Even so, those K1 rounds are only 3 minutes long, and it's hard to expect Gianatsu to pull off another highlight reel KO with someone that is competent in his stand-up. When the fight gets to its second and final frame, which is the MMA round, expect Kikuno to use his stronger upper body, giving him full advantage over the K1 fighter that is only flirted with MMA.
Dream, lightweight championship bout. The challenger, Satoru Kitaoka versus the champion, Shinya Aoki.
In a fight that could have taken place 2 years ago at Dynamite 2009, if Satoru Kitaoka did not lose to Mitsuto Hirota in Sengoku, is now here and is one of the more peculiar fights that Japan have seen in some time. The 2 top premier submission artists in all MMA will have the Pancracia teammates fighting each other, and Shinya Aoki versus Aoki, the polarizing flagship fighter from the land of the rising sun, has been facing less than stellar competition since Dream 15 against Tetsuya Kawajiri. I won't count Gianatsu as a mediocre fighter. Yes, that fight resulted in an embarrassing loss, but it was under special rules. The lack of elite-level competition is not Aoki's fault. The Dream promotion is faced with dealing with the waning MMA interest in Japan that started once Pride ended, the tsunami back in March, and the fact that Aoki has already faced most of the lightweight and some welterweight fighters in Japan. We all know what happened when the Baka survivor went against a big-name fighter in America. In his teammate and opponent, Kitaoka is nearly a 12-year vet in MMA and is still winning fights, which in itself is a rarity. While not having the extensive formal grappling tournament experience that Aoki has, he is still as capable to submit his opponents with a high accuracy of success, namely from leg locks. The true difference here is that although I believe Kitaoka can perform every submission that Aoki can with the same effectiveness, his inability to get the fight to the ground without wasting a ton of energy will be his downfall. This is because he doesn't mask his takedowns with strikes or even go for the clinch. The majority of his takedowns are from playing the outside and sliding in and either securing submission or control. Little known fact, when the Crazy Koala was a welterweight, he defeated Kurt Pellegrino, Paul Daly, and Carlos Condon. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Aoki will use his striking to gain clinch control, and that should be enough to take it to the ground. Aoki has a strange ability to glue onto his opponents. All in all, Shinya Aoki has a more comprehensive ground game as well as better top control. They both know leg locks, and I'm assuming they're escapes, although sometimes that's not enough when dealing with lower body submissions. This is a fight that has to end in the first few minutes to be entertaining. If not, it's going to be a bore even if it ends in submission. Aoki holds a slight advantage over his teammate, and he is my pick.
Dream, featherweight championship bout. Takashi Lion Unye versus Hiroyuki Takaya.
In the featherweight championship bout, Lion Takashi will challenge for the dream title against Hiroyuki Takaya. Takashi possesses one of the best front leg kicks in the game. Many fighters concentrate on one area in the kick department, two if they're really good. But even then, if you're not Kikuno or Machida, it's usually just a back power leg. The challenger can also mix up in the fury with accurate hooks to the jaw, something that the champion Hiroyuki has to watch out for because 4 of Takaya's 9 losses came from being knocked out or technically knocked out. While the champion Takaya has some serious power in his hands, his chin can be touched. With that stated, I feel Hiroyuki should still be the favorite to retain the belt. Takashi, although never finished, has never really beaten a name brand fighter while they were hot. The challenger is facing a fighter that possesses all the same skills slightly better than himself, outside of kicks going to the favor of Takashi and the punching power going to the champion. If only Takaya was a bigger fighter, he could be the guy that Dream could focus their promotion around rather than the super hot, super cold Shinya Aoki.
Heavyweight bout. Satoru Ishii versus Fedor Emelianenko.
In an uncommonly active year for the last emperor, Fedor Emelianenko will be returning to Japan for New Year's Eve, something that was once considered a tradition in MMA. Finally breaking the losing streak with his victory over Jeff Monson in Russia, the former Pride champ will be facing off against the man that was supposed to be the leader of the large Japanese fighters, Satoshi Ishii. I cannot think of a bigger bust than the 2008 judo gold medalist. After a 3-way bidding war consisting of Dream, Sengoku, and the UFC, the lesser-known and now defunct organization got the judoka standout, that being Sengoku. Ishii's MMA career prospects were dim from the get-go, fighting a 14-year-old elder version of himself and a particularly fat Yoshida. And a huge upset, the 1992 gold medalist beat the 2008 one. Since that time, Ishii has fought names that people recognize, but names that people recognize to be over the hill. Ever since 2007, many people have been talking about Fedor's management problems with M1. But let's weigh in on this one. Satoshi is a legitimate world-class fighter, meaning he's actually fought on the world level, and this is not just Joe Rogan's analyst of a fighter's skill. He has fought 6 times in 2 years, went to 3 gyms, Extreme Couture, American Top Team, and Black House. And the best fighter at the time in which they competed is fucking Minowa Man. That is terrible management. All in all, this is actually the best fight for the recovering Fedor, an Olympian in a Japanese sport that's Japanese in Japan. Although Fedor is the favorite, Ishii's credentials alone make him the threat to anyone he faces. I spent the majority of this analyst talking about the history of these fighters rather than the opposing skill set, so let's get into that. Ishii's no-gi clinch game is actually weaker than most people think, as well as his top control. See Dream 15. And although he is powerful, he has not displayed that attribute with accuracy and speed to max out the use of his hands. Falling excellence should prevail. It sounds strange to say this today at the end of 2011, but Emelianenko by the second round by anything he wants.
Okay, let me run down through my picks once again. Fedor in the heavyweight bout and the mixed rules bout, I have Kikuno, and I have both Aoki and Takaya retaining their belts. In the bantamweight world tournament, I have Binimaru Fernandez facing off against Inimari in the finals. Binimaru has some very fast submissions, while Inimari has some fast submissions himself and a much narrower scope being the leg locks. He's a training partner of Aoki and Kitaoka. The crazy strike that Inimari throws are predictably unpredictable. And that's why I feel that Binimaru Fernandez is going to take this thing. Plus, Fernandez can actually throw his hands pretty well to hurt his opponents rather than simply fool them. Then we have the welterweight fight with Maha Sakurai versus Ryo Shonan. I think the winner of this should face the White Mare Zamarskis in a later dream event for the welterweight dream title. They need to get that belt off of the White Mare pretty quickly. Yes, I know we had a crazy knockout. I saw it on YouTube. I saw it on various MMA websites. But who was that against? And where did that take place? You know, I think that when Zarmowski's is actually fighting name grand fighters. He has a very difficult time. Other than that, I want to talk about the pro wrestling aspect of the Dream Tournament. I'm not the Dream Tournament, the Dream Event. It has Inoki conducting some pro wrestling fights. Josh Barnett's in it. Sakuraba's in it. The thing is this. If you date back all the way to the original Pride events, and I'm talking about like Pride 3, things I've actually seen myself, the entertainment aspects of MMA has always been there in Japan. You know, if you watch the old Pride events, some of them actually end off with like promos, like, you know, one guy's yelling at another guy, one guy's in the ring, the other guy's, you know, on the walking ramp, and they're yelling at each other, something like WWE. You know, the people talk about how Pride was rigged and how the matches were fake. I think it started off that way, but during the Grand Prix, they legitimized themselves into actual mixed martial arts fighting, which didn't have any sort of predicted winner. I mean, think about it. If that was the case, Shin Aoki would have been the Dream Champion way back in like Dream 3 or something like that, when they was having the lightweight championship bout. They'd just tell Joakim Hansen to just drop the belt to him. I don't think it's like that anymore. Plus, you know, everyone's talking about how Dan Henderson's a badass. Remember, Dan Henderson is a Grand Prix winner in Pride and also the former Pride middleweight champion. So, was that fake? I just don't think Inoki, and if you don't know who Inoki is, imagine Hulk Hogan times triplicate in the pro wrestling world of Japan. I mean, this guy's a real somebody. At the same time, he's just a little too Yakuza to be involved with this new Dream event, and at least in such a profound fashion. So guys, please watch this event. Like I said, the link to the live streaming is going to be in the description box below. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm probably going to be combining weighing on the weight classes 13B and 14B together, depending on how the event takes place. And I will have my MMA awards the first week of January. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, take care.